Special thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Stick around for later to hear more about Squarespace. The way you judge if a superhero theme song is good is if you can hum that character's name into it. Superman, Superman, look over there, it's that Superman. And in that regard, Matt Reeves' Batman is a damn solid flick. Probably my personal favorite Batman solo movie for having such a strong artistic vision, a good grasp on the psychology of the characters, and of course its plot is like a Batman's greatest hits. Some of the best and most influential Batman stories were used to construct this movie's script, and it makes for a really fascinating and fresh retelling of them. With some new and some old, the Batman is a love letter to Batman comics. Let's take a look at some of the sources of inspiration for emo Nirvana sexy Batman, and my pal Chris Pierce of Comic Tropes is here to look with us. Also my friend Jacob is here. Beware of spoilers, shut up!
Hey everybody, this is Chris from Comic Tropes, and GodzillaMendoza, well, I owe him big time because I basically forced him to dress up like Spider-Man in a bunch of my videos. So when he asked me if I would be willing to share some of my thoughts on the Batman, I said, I'm legally obligated to do that for you. So here's some of my thoughts. My favorite comic that was used for the Batman has to be the Darwin Cook story Ego. In that comic, Batman has a metaphorical battle of wills between his identity as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. It's a dichotomy that doesn't always get addressed in such a visual way. The film doesn't do anything scene for scene, but it absolutely uses this as the main theme. The movie features a Bruce Wayne who is just learning to be Batman and has arguably overcommitted himself to being Batman. He hasn't left any room for Bruce Wayne, but by the end of the film, he realizes he can do a tremendous amount of good as philanthropist Bruce Wayne, as a citizen who is plugged in to his city's events and elections.
It goes without saying that this movie and most of the best Batman adaptations are based on the massively influential Long Halloween. Starting with a mysterious death on Halloween night, Batman has to track down a serial killer that's exposing the corruption in Gotham by executing everyone close to crime boss Carmine Falcone. Falcone? I like Falcone. And leaving a unique calling card at the scene of each crime. While the Long Halloween comic takes place over an entire year, with each killing taking place on a holiday, Riddler's version of this revenge plot takes place over a week. He's just really efficient like that. How do you think he hides all those trophies? Long Halloween was such a massive and huge story that both this and The Dark Knight could adapt different portions of it. The Catwoman elements being used for this movie and the Two-Face and Harvey Dent origin being the biggest inspiration for The Dark Knight's take on that character. See, that one isn't allergic to comic books, they did some stuff.
I may be reaching with this next portion, but I got the impression that director Matt Reeves included some subtle references to previous Batman shows as well as the comics. For instance, one scene of the movie features Bruce desperately calling his house to warn Alfred of danger, and the phone at his penthouse is an old-fashioned landline with lights. It reminded me of the 1960s live-action Batman show where Adam West's Batman had a special red phone to call the commissioner directly. And of course, Batman calls himself Vengeance in the movie.
I'm Vengeance.
I'm pretty sure the 90s animated series was the first occurrence of Batman shouting that he is the knight, he is vengeance.
I am vengeance. I am the knight. I am Batman!
Bruce Wayne's shaky and tense relationship with Carmine Falcone is a nice middle ground between Long Halloween and the Telltale counterpart. Carmine mentions that Bruce's father, Thomas Wayne, performed a life-saving surgery on him many years ago while Bruce watched. This scene is directly from the comics, but is also mixed into the idea from the Telltale series that Bruce's parents may have been as corrupt as Falcone themselves. The movie plays it more ambiguous than the game, by offering several different versions of the story, and confirming none of them, so it can cater to fans of both interpretations of Batman's parents. Either they were cool people that got by some random punk on the street, or they were evil, rich criminalmans and the local crime lords whacked them. It's left vague enough that you can choose, and both versions of it are spun by biased parties, which is a nice touch. Alfred would give the Waynes the most charitable reading possible, and Falcone's a liar, so it's possible that the truth lies somewhere between both of their versions of the past.
The Batman movie does a great job of weaving Selina Kyle into the storyline by adapting two very popular Batman comics. Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli, and The Long Halloween and its sequel by Jeff Leb and Tim Sale. In Year One, Selina Kyle as Catwoman fights and scratches mob boss Carmine Falcone, which she also does in the movie, giving him his iconic scars. And in The Long Halloween, Catwoman suspects Carmine Falcone is her biological father, which is investigated much more in the sequel, Dark Victory. It isn't conclusive in the comics, but that tight connection helps justify both Selina and Carmine being important players in the Batman. I would also say there are some visual cues to these comics. The letters Batman gets from the Riddler in the film are a bit reminiscent of the clues left by Holiday in The Long Halloween. And there's a scene of the Batman escaping from police up a flight of stairs that's taken directly from Year One. Finally, Catwoman learning Batman's secret identity was done in the Catwoman comic that was by writer Bronwyn Carlton and artist Staz Johnson. While that doesn't happen exactly in the film, they certainly get close in scenes that are reminiscent of those issues.
It seems like this version of Alfred is based on the badass Alfred from Batman Earth 1, where instead of being a butler, he was the Wayne family bodyguard and helped train Bruce. A lot of more contemporary versions of Alfred pull this in and include his history as an Interpol agent to further justify why he's so good at watching Batman's back. You know, he beat up Superman once in that one book that's not canon.
The Penguin, as played by Colin Farrell, is easily a highlight of this movie, as it's one of the few elements of levity in a pretty serious murder mystery. Penguin is portrayed as a dangerous weapons smuggler operating through a legitimate business, his club, the Iceberg Lounge. That was introduced in the 90s in Detective Comics issue 683. But the movie still gives us a nod to the goofier Penguin of the past when he is left tied up by Batman and waddles awkwardly in a manner reminiscent of Burgess Meredith's iconic portrayal from the 60s.
The Riddler seems to be more heavily inspired by recent takes on the character, such as the Telltale Games and Arkham versions putting corrupt politicians in publicly viewable death traps to expose their crimes and corruption to everyone in the city. And while Batman doesn't ultimately stop Riddler's plan to flood the city, it leaves the story in a very similar place as the beginning of Scott Snyder's Zero-Year Dark City, another storyline where Riddler causes Gotham to be cut off from the outside world and put into chaos and martial law. This movie essentially ends where that arc begins, so it's easy to imagine the sequel will have a lot of Scott Snyder Batman inspiration if they follow up more on Riddler stuff.
A lot of people will recognize a mention of the Batman villain Hush about 2/3 of the way through the film, when we hear about a newspaper reporter with the last name Elliot. In the comics, Thomas Elliot was a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne's who eventually becomes the masked villain Hush. But the first time the Elliots were established as old money was in the 2011 book Batman Gates of Gotham. That was written by Scott Snyder, Kyle Higgins, and Ryan Parrott. It established that the Elliot family made their money in the newspaper industry, so that also serves as a potential seed to use Hush in a future film.
The last big seed planted by director Matt Reeves was a tease for everybody's least favorite Gotham funny man. A lot of people weren't exactly happy to see this guy again. After all, we just got a solo movie and an appearance in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Besides, who's gonna give you a reach around?
There is some pretty heavy Joker fatigue right now, and they'll have a lot of work to do if they intend on keeping audiences interested in yet another Joker story. I think they have something pretty unique planned though. Matt Reeves has discussed why he included this cameo, and vaguely described who this version of the Joker is at this point in the story of Gotham. This Joker has been scarred since birth, having been born with a unique skin condition, and has been judged and ridiculed all his life for how he looks. He may already be this broken due to the harsh reality he's been dealt. They could definitely take this forward in the untitled Arkham project they're developing for this universe. I imagine they'll take cues from Telltale's version of this story, where the Joker is very similarly already in Arkham, just waiting around like a time bomb before becoming the homicidal clown prince of clown crimes. Under the direction of Matt Reeves, I trust they'll overcome the Nazi-hating clown fatigue by giving us something general audiences haven't exactly seen before.
While it's still a fresh and unique take on Batman, every element of the movie harkens back to his history, new and old, with a lot of tangible love for the character. If the next movie is as good as this, then I think it could be the definitive take on Batman for our generation, and I can't wait to see what inspiration they use next. Maybe some Court of Owls! I want to see a Robin in one of these movies. And not like a 25-year-old Robin who's really angsty and is like, bro, fuck Batman. I want like, here's actual Robin, and Batman's like a good dad. Hey, that would be a unique take. F***ing Titans. Thanks again to Comic Tropes and Jacob for helping me with this video. See you next time, same bat channel, bitches. I'd want to take out my boiling rage on society with brain teasers and logic puzzles too. If not for sponsors like Squarespace. Squarespace gives you a user-friendly and beautiful platform to maintain and run your very own website. You can connect with your site's users through gated members-only content, as well as sending email notifications, leverage audience insights, all on one easy-to-use platform. You can create your own community with comment sections with threaded comments and likes. These handy blogging tools built in can help you easily categorize and share posts on the site. You can get even more from Squarespace with third-party extensions to manage inventory, promote products, streamline bookkeeping, or whatever else your site needs to run like a well-oiled machine. And you can even display posts from your social media on your site to make sure your followers are connected and can share them too. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/GodzillaMendoza to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.